In this podcast episode, I'm going to talk to you about the pros and cons of both mobile detailing and working out of your home garage. This is the Detailing Business Class Podcast. And welcome back to another podcast episode. I missed last week, but here we are again with a fresh new podcast for you to listen to. On this one, we're talking about mobile detailing versus shop based, or more specifically, garage based, meaning out of your home, as that's the most immediate thing that you can do versus trying to go and find a shop and spend all that money. So I'm going to do a pros and cons of each one. I'll first start off with the home location, since that's a very appealing way to start your business. And a lot of people eventually like to gravitate towards just like home-based detailing and kind of, cancel out the mobile side. So let's go straight into this episode, shall we? So I have my notes here on my computer. I'll kind of reference them just to make sure I hit my points. And then I'll just expand on each one. So first one is, which one should you start and which way should you start your detailing business? And in that regard, I'm just going to say whatever way is easiest for you, just start with that, because the more important part than anything is just starting. Just like, hey, go actually make some money, go and get some momentum going, go and build some traction. So if you're like contemplating like, man, it's been, a week, a few months, like, is it mobile? I'm looking for vans, or trying to go get a truck, or, should I do home garage and have customers come over here? It's like, just start. Whichever way that means, pick that one. If it's easier to get started with your home garage, boom, start with that. If it's easier with your personal vehicle, if it's a sedan, a sports car, is it a motorcycle? Is it easier with that way? Okay, start with that one then. So first and foremost, whichever one you can start with now, start with that one. Now, aside from that, you're going to get started. Let's go with the benefits, the pros of a home garage. Okay. So one, and this is if you're home or shop based, meaning you have an actual location, is the cars come to you. And we have both a shop and we're also mobile. So when the cars come to you, it makes a huge difference in the peace of mind that you have to stay here at the shop and everyone comes to you. It is far easier. It is far smoother. It is less headaches and hassles to go out to stay here for the customers versus having to, look at the maps and see what time you have to leave in order to get to the first customer's location. And then add to that the traffic that might occur at the time that you have to be at that customer's location. So as far as just more of a peace of mind, more of a like, you don't have to, you can kind of remove an entire section of kind of, stress or worries or problems, is just by having the customer come to you. So that is a big, 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 big benefit. And as your business grows, it's much easier to stack customers back to back when they're coming to you versus you going to them. Because I mean, depending on how big your city is, or how big of a service area you service, a lot of time can be eaten up just in driving. So you can stack, let's say 2, 3, 4 customers at a shop or at your home garage and just knock them out back to back, assuming you have the help and all that, and all that good jazz. But with mobile detailing, if you try to kind of stack 2 or 3 customers, they might be too far away to actually get to them on time. So that's a big benefit for home garage. Second one is you can do more intensive services at your home garage, meaning like for us, we do smoke odor removal, and that's a service that's kind of difficult to do as a mobile job, just because it requires more time and more oversight, and there's a lot of just waiting around with that service. And we did it like once or twice as a mobile job, and we immediately realized this is not a mobile job. This is definitely going to be at our shop. So for any smoke odor removal services, that is required to come to our shop for at least a day and a half to 2 days. So if you have a home garage, you can just do a lot more intensive services. Even if it comes to paint correction, it's always going to be better, or at least more comfortable, to do it at your home garage versus someone else's home garage. So if in that regard you're more comfortable, you can kind of give a better quality service, just because there is a difference between working at your home garage and working at someone else's home garage. Like, there is a difference, even though it is basically the same thing. Now those are a few benefits to it. On the actually, I'll add one more on the marketing side. When it comes to if you are looking for search engine optimization (SEO), that's when you rank your website on the first page of Google. If you're open and willing and comfortable with sharing your home address online, you can use that in your Google My Business to kind of put an actual geolocation to where you are, so Google can kind of pinpoint you in a more accurate area to local customers. Because if you don't put your home address, you can put your service area, the zip code, but it's not the same as having like an actual physical location. But that's like if you're comfortable with having your private home address out in the public. So you got to kind of handle that situation. So now let's move over to the cons of being a shop, home garage. Is one could be getting customers to actually bring their vehicle to your location. So yes, the thought of wow, like customers can come to me, that'd be so great. And it's like yes, but you gotta persuade them or sell them on like yeah, come bring it to me, because depending on how far you are from that customer, they might be like, man, I don't want to drive 25 minutes to go drop off my vehicle and then have someone else pick me up from your location. And then when I have to come pick up my vehicle, I have to get someone else to come drop me off. Like that's just too many headaches. So you can easily run into that. And it just, even here at our shop, like we'll easily run into that as well of like, hey, yeah, I'll go drop off my vehicle, or I want to get a quote from you guys. And then they check the address and it's like, oh, you're 40 minutes away. Like that's too far. It's going to happen, right? But is that going to stop you from any customers coming to you? No, not at all. Like if you just make that a requirement, like, yeah, hey, we're just, we're home based now, or you don't even have to say home, but we just, I work out of my home garage or home shop. If you just make that a requirement, it's like, yeah, if you want to do business with me, like you got to bring it to my shop. So that's, but that is somewhat of a hurdle of explaining like, yeah, hey, you got to come, the shop is at my home, at my house. And nothing wrong with that at all. Like, I did that a few times. But I've always been, for the most part, before we had the shop, we were always mobile, but I did do that a few times. I know a lot of other detailers that are strictly home based and they have no problem with it. So, don't make it a limiting belief of like, oh, well, customers aren't going to drop off their vehicle because it's at my home location. It's like, well, why would anyone drop off their vehicle at our shop location, right? It's like the customer still has to drive to that location. So I would not look at that as a big limiting factor of like, oh, it's not gonna work out because it's my home garage and they have to come drop it off to me. But that being said, though, it is something to consider, especially where like when you tell people it's a home, it's like that might be a little off putting. But hey, look, if you have photos of your work, if you keep it nice and tidy, like I've seen dozens and dozens of detailers strictly work out of their home garage and it works fine. So I'm gonna say, that could be a con, but you can easily get by that. And like I said, you might have to shuttle the customer back to the home location. We have probably done that only a handful of times at our shop where the customer needed us to take them back. And if we do, they have to be within like a certain mile, like they have to be under like 12 miles for us to take them back. If it's like anything over 12, like 15, 20, 25, that's too far. Like that's almost like, that's going to be like an hour and a half round trip, depending on the time that we do it. So it has to be like in a very, very close proximity for us to get to shuttle them back home. And again, back to you, it's like, if you just want to say like, hey, like we don't do that, that's just what you do. They'll have to figure that out. They have to figure out their how to get back, how to get to and from their home to you and from you back to wherever they need to go. So that could be a con. But over time, you get more experience on how to talk to the customer, how to better communicate that you don't or you do, or that there's a limit. Like over time, you get better at it. So yes, your first few times you're gonna say something. Or you're not gonna best communicate it, or you're gonna answer it in the wrong way, or you're gonna be like, "Yeah, I'll take you back," and it's like, "Oh, okay, I'm 45 minutes away." It's like, "Oh, okay, this was a mistake. Next time I should, X, Y, Z." So over time, you get better at making sure that you know how far the distance is, or you're just setting the rules, so to speak, on how far you do, if you do at all, and all that good stuff. So this one is your friends and family members always bugging you while you work. So if you do work at a home garage and you want to be professional, you want to be focused on your work, but if your mom, your brother, your aunt that just came over, your cousins, your neighbors, it's like they can easily get in the way because you are working at your house. You might have visitors, you might have family coming over, friends coming over, a party, and it's like, man, I'm trying to work here, and there's music playing in the background, there's a party going on in the backyard, and I have to deliver this vehicle today, and the customer's going to be here in 3 hours, and the kids keep on running through the garage, and it's like this unprofessional. So that's a very, very easy thing that might happen. My screen just went out. That's a very, very easy thing that could potentially happen because you're working at your home garage. Of course, it depends on your living situation and all that, but that's an easy one that can definitely happen, and more so really frustrate you because again, like you want to stay focused. You're doing this as a business, like, hey, this is a customer's vehicle. Like, I want to be serious. I'm very professional, and then you have a bunch of kids running around with some candy, throwing things around. Like, it's easy for that to get in your way. Um, on this one, some people don't like me saying this, but I've seen it firsthand, where if you're working at your home garage, it can really develop a relaxed mindset. As far as like because it's out of your home garage, because it's in your environment, the cars come to you. It can really give you that mindset of like, okay, hey, like this is very comfortable, like it's on my time, you kind of do more than what you should because it's at your house, and it's like, oh, this is so fun. And not that that's wrong, but just the way I see it is like you need to have like a very obviously like business minded, like efficient mindset when it comes to customers vehicles, and I'm not saying it happens all the time. I'm just saying it's something to be aware of when you're working out of your home garage, of like, oh yeah, all right, this is still a business. I still have to keep it to a respectable timetable. I still have to work within the budget. Which is just when I see, like, a lot of times that I've seen, not every time, but just a lot of times, it's like you can see that the detailer, because they're working out of their home garage, like it's very, relaxed. It's very comfortable. And because of that, that comes with a few other factors. Of course, not, I'm not painting a black and white blanket here, but it just, if I, I'm just going to add that as a con, because that is something that I see more so than like mobile detailing. Because if you're out there in the field on the mobile job, you're not thinking being relaxed, or you're not thinking being comfortable. Like, you might be in like hot weather, cold weather. It might be drizzling. You're working in a tight environment, a small parking lot, and a small little space. Like, oftentimes it's black and white between a home garage and mobile detailing, and then the mindset that kind of develops from those two locations. So I'll end it right there on the shop. Now let's switch over to mobile. So benefits for mobile is you can cast a wider net by going to them. So going back to the home base one, is that like, depending on how far that customer is, they might not want to drive to you just because you're too far, right? It's gonna happen. It's like, would you want to go to a pizza shop that's 45 minutes away? Sure, if it's that good, but as a whole, you probably have one just as good that's 15 minutes away. So when it comes to mobile, it's like, if let's say, just generally speaking, if you're working at your home garage or a shop, the general proximity that a customer will travel to you, the diameter is going to be like, let's say, 20 miles, right? I'm just throwing out a number there. Now, if you're mobile, you can do, since you go out to the customer, you can service let's say, a 35-mile proximity because you're going out to the customer, right? So that is a big benefit. Like, let's say you're in a small town that has 50,000, people in there. And then if you just drive, let's say 30 miles out, you get to a location that has, 750,000 people, right? And you see that all across America, like, if you're in the US, like, depending on where you live, like, that's very, very possible. So if you're mobile, you get to have a wider footprint because you're traveling to the customer. And this happens a lot with, like, HVAC, roofing, landscaping. It's like the way they grow their company, and the way they get a bigger footprint is by just sending the vans out further and further. And once they get to a certain point, like, okay, now they're traveling, I don't know, I'm making up a number here, 80 miles away. It's like, okay, how about we put another headquarters 80 miles out? And then from there, they get to go even further now. That's the way they expand the, those service based businesses, because like they can only grow as far as they can travel. So that's one side. Like, that's why I really do recommend like mobile detailing, because like you're able to go to the customer. It's more convenience to the customer. You can go further for the customer. So that's definitely a huge plus on that side. And like I said, it makes it easy for the customer. So it's an easy sell to be like, yeah, at your home or work location, I can go to you. Even if you need like a water and power hookup, that's perfectly fine at a customer's home location. And it's just an easy sell for convenience. So I'm not gonna spend too much time there. The third one is, it doesn't matter where you live or how big the garage is, since you're going to them. like it doesn't matter, right? So like, and I've seen this a few times where an individual might not be the most comfortable or the most open to the area that they live in, right? Let's say it's a more, you know, lower side of town, as far as income goes. But you know, if you're mobile, then you know you can go anywhere because you're going to the customer. So in that regard, I have seen it a few times. So I'll put it here where like it, you know, it doesn't matter where you live, right? And you know, maybe you're not comfortable with people coming to your home garage or home because of the area that you live in, the neighborhood, or things like that. Like I've seen it firsthand, which is why I'm adding it here. So going to the customer location works out fantastic. And the last thing I'll add here also is on the marketing side, referring back to search engine optimization, SEO. That's ranking your website on the first page of Google. With SEO and being mobile, you get to target as many areas around you as you can or as you like because you travel to them. So if you know, if you're shop base or home garage, you can own, like, let's say there's 7 cities in your area, right? If your garage home if you're working at your home garage, you can only target city A or city 1 because that's your proximity, right? You don't go to the customer, they come to you. So if you're in city A or city 1, you can only target city 1 area. Now if you're mobile, you can actually target city 1, city 2, city 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 because you go out to the customer. That's one thing that we heavily push on with our website, is that we create service area pages for all cities around where we are. So it's not just, you know, as I just said, it's not just city 1, but we're targeting city 1 because we have the shop, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that gives us a much larger footprint because we're able to go to the customer. So that is a major advantage that mobile detailers have that home garage or shop based detailers do not have. They cannot get a wider footprint because they are stuck to that one location. Whereas mobile detailers, they can target all those locations because they go to them. So, yeah, that's definitely a big plus. Now, as far as cons go, if you have a small car, it'll be harder to fit everything in there, obviously. So you really need to prioritize what you can take, right? Like I started off in 2011 with a 2003 Toyota Matrix XRS, small little thing. You know, I've seen people, you know, with similar size vehicles put a generator in there, a water tank, a pressure washer. I didn't do any of that. So I always use the customer's water and power. But yes, you are much more limited if you have a smaller vehicle. Not that you can't start, because I've seen plenty of setups with out of sedan, out of a small vehicle like that. So it's very, very, very doable. But that is a negative. Like if you have a, you know, Mustang, a 2-door Mustang, that's gonna be a lot difficult than if you had a, you know, Ford F-150. You know, like there's a difference in a setup like that. So depending on the vehicle that you have, you'll be a lot more limited on what you can take and how you can start. Nonetheless, you can still start. It just, you know, there's going to be a lot more limitations versus if you had a larger vehicle. Number two, weather can not that it can get in the way, it will get in the way. Only a few, you know, like the rain, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too windy, it's raining too much. It's, you know, like so many things can go wrong with the weather. You know, like friends, like it doesn't have to rain or be hot. Like just today, the winds were just super harsh today. So if you wanted to put up a canopy, it's like the wind was blowing it so hard, it would always move the canopy. Or if you're trying to prep a vehicle for correction or just to apply a wax, like, and there's such hard gusts of wind, it's like it's throwing leaves, debris, the pollen all back around the paint. And it's like it just, you can't move as well as you'd want because the weather's getting in the way. So weather 100% will get in the way of mobile jobs. And again, not so much of canceling one, but it's like even on the job site, it's like, oh my God, it's so hot out here. Like, you know, it's drying up the polish, or it's drying up the wax, or I can't, you know, do this, I can't do that. Like, weather will get in the way of that. So that's definitely a big con to it. And number three, or the next one, is driving around can eat up a lot of time. As I mentioned, you know, depending on how big your service, how big of a service area you have, or how big your city is, like here in Houston, you just, you know, you have to drive a lot because it's a huge city. So, you know, there's been times where it's like almost a quarter or half the time on a specific day just went to driving. Like it is what it is. Like just how you schedule it, the customers, what they want, the this, like it's just gonna happen. It doesn't happen often, but it's like there's been times where like a majority of the day, not a majority, but like almost a majority of the day just went to driving relative to the amount of customers that we serviced. It is what it is. That's how it works as a mobile detail. Like that. That's how it goes. So again, you can finesse this depending on how far you want to travel and things of that nature. But driving can and not even if you're not driving far, but if there's an accident somewhere on the highway, if you take the wrong turn, if you like all these little things like can definitely eat into your time. And then you're supposed to get to the customer at 1 p.m. You're not going to get there at 1:15. You don't start until 1:30. Your next customer was supposed to be at 4, but now that's going to start at 4:30. And it's just this cascading effect due to just like you're driving and then traffic and then this and then that. And then, like, so it's very, very, very problematic. But again, like over time, you get to know your city, the routes, the traffic, what to avoid, when to, how to plan better. So like, it's you'll be able to work around it. I mean, obviously, just look at literally every, mobile pet groomer, HVAC, roofing, landscape. Like they 100% of the time have to go out to the field and they make it work with no problem. So, I mean, not with no problem, but they make it work. So it works in their favor. So those are the pros and cons to each one. I didn't list every single last one, just kind of listed the major ones. I personally would recommend mobile detailing, but as I said in the beginning, it's like, what's just going to get you started? Whatever that just get started. And, after 3 months, you're like, man, this mobile stuff really sucks. Okay, go home garage then. Or, if you're like, man, I don't, I like working at the home garage, but man, just family keeps on coming in and out. And, the neighbors keep on complaining about the noise at 7 p.m. I'm going to go mobile now. So it's one of those things, just at least get started and then figure out what's going to work out best for you. So I'll end it right here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can check the video description box below for the ultimate guide to start your detailing business, or just any other links that I have. You can check down below. And if you're listening to this on the audio format, then just check the show notes and you'll have the same links there to any of the guides or other links that I have, like to my other YouTube channel, the Proper Care channel, or the just check down below. You'll find other links right there. So thank you very much. I will talk to everyone on the next one. Bye-bye.